From the Channel Seed Studios, welcome to The Hook. A look behind the lines with Mike Palm and Ken Miller. Powered by Circa Sports Iowa. Sports betting the way it should be. This is Iowa Everywhere.
Channel Seed. Seedsmanship at work.
And hello again, everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of The Hook. A beautiful Friday night here in the state capital of Des Moines. Mike Plum, of course, beautiful night where he's at. He is in Las Vegas. Of course, the Vice President of Operations for Circa Sports. You guys have got a lot of publicity, Mike Plum, this last couple of days. Good to speak with you. So what I'm talking about is Mountain West Football Media Days. Took over at least a portion of Circa. They a big event at Stadium Swim. There was a lot of social media on that. Then moved it inside and upstairs to the actual media press conferences. But all in all, for the first time, a conference knocked on your door that wanted to hold media days. Would you consider it a success?
Oh, I think it was on a scale of 1 to 10, it was about a 14.
Wow.
It was really, really great. And I just, since we talked on the radio this morning with Trent, I got a nice email from the host of their studio show and the deputy commissioner saying how nice the trip was and they loved it. And thanks for all the access and the individual attention. A couple of them are coming back. Stormy, who works at VEASAN, started out at the Mountain West working for their network. So she knows all those guys. She's getting married next month. Several of them are coming back. Stormy Otani.
I wish I could buy stock in her career, Mike.
She's very good. She's very good, and they throw her at XFL, and she becomes, the queen of the XFL, and real good at hockey. Obviously, covered the Knights, but just whatever she does, real good on the sidelines for football. Very patient. With some coaches that are difficult, as she says, but very patient with them. Anyhow, they're coming back next month for her wedding. So the connection came through the Vegas Bowl. Jeff Victor, who's one of our vice presidents, and his wife are both on the Vegas Bowl committee. Yeah. And that's sort of how the connection with the Mountain West came about. And, they said they were coming out for a site visit. I thought it was a long shot whether they would pick here because, look, the over 21 restriction is going to hurt us.
Oh, yeah.
But the coaches and talking to them say, hey, it's great. We get to bring our 50-year seniors, our team captains, not just the young guys that are the studs, and kind of reward them in the media days too. And it's not really a party. I mean, these guys are working the whole time, and they're covering things and then writing a couple stories at night too. So it's stuff that's going on. But I thought it was terrific, and I know they're meeting to work on contracts for next year and beyond as we speak.
Well, that's good. So did all the teams stay at Circa? Was that part of it? And all the players, coaches,
everybody, all the coaches and the SDIs and all that, and the players, they all stayed at Circa. There was a terrific video that the Mountain West tweeted out on Tuesday night. The players in the pool and eating at Stadium Swim.
Saw the food, yeah.
Really well done.
Yeah, no, the food looked really well done too. That was a heck of a spread. Was that done on site?
It was.
Saginaw does that. Is that where you guys do it?
Victory Burger and Saginaw's combined to provide the food for Stadium Swim.
Yeah. Boy, speaking of Victory Burger, I'm seeing, and I don't know what it is, that on Twitter now they have that for you. I must have clicked on a Victory Burger once. I'm getting more Twitter on Victory Burger and, pictures of the food and the overhang when you could look down into the book. Was that, for people that have been there and the people that are going to be there, was that always the plan to put that up there? Or that's just extra space you had to fill it and we got
no. And see that the owners of Victory Burger, same that own ACI at the D. American Coney Island, and of course the American Coney Island back in Detroit. So that was always a plan for them to have a restaurant and be a sportsbook themed restaurant. That was one of the first things in the drawings that was put there and didn't move.
Yeah. Excellent food, very popular, no doubt about it, as all your restaurants. I mean, all of them are doing very well, right? Even from Jackpot's, the coffee spot at the end, when you get off the elevators, that's got a crowd every morning, and the coffee's really good. Obviously, Barry's downstairs. The steakhouse is terrific. Upstairs, East and Saginaw, all both doing really well.
Really well. Saginaw's probably had the best growth over the last 6 months or so. The 24-hour Jewish deli, and then of course Andiamo at the D and ACI. So all the restaurants are very good.
Any plans at Circa to expand restaurants? I'm sure there's room, but are there plans on the drawing board at this time?
We don't have anything that's really quick serve. That's the one thing we lack. But there's certain things that we can't have that would take away from our existing partners. So, there's some finesse to all that. But there's really no place you can get food in 5 minutes, right? And
right.
so we recognize that as one of the needs.
Yeah, like what's the Sbarro pizza? Is that what something like that?
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, we shall see. Well, let's talk about sports betting. Of course, this is we're 2 rounds into the British Open, the Open Championship, and American Brian Harman, who you guys started out at 145 to 1 to win this tournament. That's what you could have got Harman at. Did you see much action on Harman at that number prior to the first round?
No, he's a pretty good winner to us. What I find intriguing is what his price is now, and I don't know if we have it up. I've seen it at a couple other books, but he's got a 5-stroke lead, Ken, and he's plus 180 to win the tournament. I don't know what our number is. I'm just checking to see if we have it posted for, repost the tournament odds. But I found that to be maybe I don't know, and I'm not a big golf bettor.
Yeah.
But
I saw Fleetwood was 4 some places, and I want to say that Rory McIlroy was 11, maybe Spieth was 8 or something. Those type of numbers.
Yeah, I don't see they probably won't repost till after 6 Pacific. Just looking at the screen here to see what other places are at right now. 150 to 170, Harman, Fleetwood, $450 to $5, Rory around 10 to 1.
Mm-hmm. Well, here's the thing with Harman. I saw somebody tweeted this out that he's had the lead after 36 holes, I think 5 times in his career, and he's yet to seal the deal. So, but I'm not sure that he had a 5-stroke lead in this. So what's this tournament like time-wise out in the Pacific time zone? I think the leaders tee off out there tomorrow with Pacific time. It'll be like 7:30 in the morning.
Yep, and we'll have a nice crowd a little later tee off because now we've cut the field down, and it should be good. It should be good tomorrow and Sunday. I'm just looking at the baseball schedule for tomorrow. They're very strange, some of these Saturdays. Only 3 games before 1 o'clock Pacific again. Sometimes there's only 1 or 2, but they'll have the whole morning window to themselves, basically. Little bit of Cardinals Cubs attention probably, but that's about it. And then so many 1 o'clock games every week.
All right, and tonight, of course, we got the first round for the women's. The U.S. women take on Vietnam tonight in the Women's World Cup. Big event for you guys out there, Mike?
Well, we'll see.
Or does it build as it goes on?
We'll see. I mean, it's all under so far. 5-0 to the unders.
Oh, is it?
World Cup, but now you get USA minus 5.5 at a total of 6 or stuff like that. You know what I mean? I don't know how you can play these games like that or the total, right? And you can't parlay them. It's a correlated parlay. So there's a really tough. I say you got to try to identify a match. In men's, I always say you don't want a team that's favored by more than half a goal, right? You keep it to a half or a pick. In women's, I think you have to expand it to 1 full goal. But, those are actually few and far between. There's usually only 1 of those in these group stages, 1 matchup that's like that. And then obviously when you get to the knockout round, it'll change.
So when there is an event like this that everybody's rooting for the red, white, and blue, right? What does that do as far as prices? Because the majority of people are going to log on their app and they're going to bet the good old USA. How do you guys take that into consideration?
Yeah, it affects the future price a bit. I'm interested to see how it'll go game to game, especially in these lopsided matchups. I remember they beat Vietnam like 13-0 a few years ago. So who knows? I mean, they're not as dominant, I think, as at one point, but still with some of these smaller countries that qualify at the end, it's very difficult to assess it. So we'll see. I'm interested. They get a couple primetime games before they go to that 2 a.m. window or whatever for their last game. It's funny how it worked out. They get a primetime Friday night game, but we'll see how it goes. I don't have huge expectations, honestly.
Yeah. So what would that be? Would you do? Is that a 5-figure type of right
per game?
Yeah.
No.
I mean tonight, Vietnam, USA, at all your properties.
Maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Maybe. I don't know. It's certainly not. So far, what we've seen in the early games is not 5 figures. Even the Australia game, which I thought would get bet with the injury news late, didn't quite get to 5 figures.
Yeah. If the Americans do advance to the final, then it is a primetime event.
Yeah.
Will people dress up like World Cup soccer for the men or any of the big tournaments? You guys, I mean, I saw some video from the Mexican contingent of
Yeah.
fans that were in your
Very
place.
ornately ordained,
Yes,
and the
right.
band, they had drums and
Yep.
But even like in champions, when you get to the semifinals and that, they all wear the jerseys of the teams,
Mhm.
whether it's Manchester City or whoever was there, Barcelona, these teams. And the Americans, more like they wear the color, just
Right,
red, white,
yeah.
and blue than anything.
A little bit more reserved, right?
Yes. Mhm.
Yeah. Interesting. Well, let's move around. Let's bounce around. I want to go back to college football. What did you see with the Mountain West being in your place? Was there, there's a lot of media there. I'm guessing that there was a very good media turnout. Media members, the ones I know anyways, like the Fire. Did you see that? Were there some futures being purchased?
We did good action on the Mountain West, more on the win totals. Boise's
Yeah.
a pretty heavy favorite. Remember, they ran the table, but then lost the conference championship
Yeah.
game. They deserve to be the favorite. I think they're 190 at Circa. You can find them at $2, $2.05 in the market. They should be.
Mhm.
And then you have Fresno State, Air Force, and San Diego State that kind of make up that next group.
Yeah.
Air Force. Look at Air Force's schedule, Kenny. They will be favored in every game until they play at Boise on the last game of the year. The conference schedule is incredibly easy, non-conference, whereas Boise's is hard. I mean, Boise goes to Washington, and they get Central Florida. I mean, they don't really have a breather, which is good for betting them to win the conference. That'll toughen them up, you hope,
Yeah,
the
yeah.
better competition. But Air Force, I mean, I know they have to replace the quarterback and the lead tailback in that
Mhm.
triple option. Their defense has been getting better the last couple of years. So, if you can keep that ground game consistent and not turn the ball over, look at Air Force at, plus 420, because they're probably going to be in the title game because of their schedule being so easy. And even if they lose to Boise and play Boise in the title game, they're not going to be plus 420. So,
And what was their total? Do you know?
the total wins, 8.5. The total is, I think, higher than Boise's. Might even be 9. Boise's was a flat 8. San Diego State's a little interesting at 7-1. They changed quarterbacks mid-year. That Jalen Maiden, he was terrific,
Mhm.
and they were a different team. So that would be the other one I look at. Tedford's a great coach, great
Yeah.
quarterback,
Mhm.
but he's got to replace, best quarterback, best receiver. So
What's
that's kind of the angle there.
What's UNLV going to be like? Of course, we were out there a couple of years ago watching Iowa State. It wasn't much of a game.
Well, they won more games last year, and they blew a couple games too, but then they fired the coach still. So
Yeah.
Barry Odom comes in. We'll see. Can they keep making progress? Wyoming, I met Craig Bowl for the first time. Of course,
Oh,
had
did you?
tremendous
Yeah.
success. They built that program at North Dakota State.
Sure did.
They just win 6, 7, or 8 games every year. You can set your
Mhm.
watch to it, but that's what they win, 6, 7, or 8 games. So interesting times. Timmy Chang, I met Timmy Chang. This will be his second. Everybody's down on them as them and New Mexico are the worst 2 teams, at least from listening to all these guys that cover the schools. Another long year for Timmy Chang, they said. But interesting. We did take good action on the conference, though, with the reporters all out here.
Bet you did. Well, the good news for Timmy Chang gets to go back to Hawaii at the after a game on Saturday, whether it goes their way or not. So UNLV, they play in the home of the Raiders, Allegiant Stadium. They used to be out at Sam Mack. Is Allegiant Stadium too big for them? You know what I mean? You put what did they draw? 20?
I don't know how you can argue it should be at Sam Boyd, though.
Sam Boyd, right? Not Sam Mack. Sam Boyd. Yeah.
It helps the recruiting, I would think, to play at Allegiant. Now, they don't play on the same field as the Raiders.
No,
they
that's
play
true.
in the same stadium because the Raiders have their own grass that they grow and store in the under the stadium. The college field is actually 8 feet below the pro field. It's really interesting. When I went with Brent Musburger for the BYU Notre Dame game, I was just wowed by it. The difference.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. They're playing in an NFL stadium, but they're not quite ready for Broadway, right? Or prime time, however you want to say it. We'll see. It's amazing how many of these kids fly from LA and San Diego right over Las Vegas to go to Boise, Idaho, right?
Mm-hmm. Fair point. Fair point. All right, let's talk a little baseball as we're well into the second half of the season. You know what I'm starting to figure out here, Mike? It looks to me like the Brewers are about to run away. I'll ask it this way: is the Central, which has been such a crapshoot and just puts poor baseball in both of them, are the two teams that were favored prior to the year in the Twins and the Brewers? I guess Cardinals were probably favored, but the Brewers and the Twins look like they're starting to separate themselves.
I would say Brewers, yes. And look, Burns is starting to look like Burns again, right? He lost
the other day.
Really lost his way early, and he couldn't throw a strike. He had no command on his breaking pitch, and he's been that Burns that was, right there in the Cy Young race. And what did he start out the year 2 years ago? 48 strikeouts before he had a walk, and then we had games this year where he was walking 4 and 5 guys. Yeah, that was his first 4 or 5 starts that year. I'm still not sold on the Twins. I bought the White Sox tickets, and they find every way to lose games. They got to get Giolito out of there. He's no good. But anyhow,
and Lance Lynn,
the Tigers hanging in there. They're interesting. Remember, the whole starting staff's been on the DL the first half of the year. They get Scooble back. I think they're a little interesting. And at the end of the day, I guess maybe the Guardians will do it just because they get the most out of their pitching staff, but they don't hit the ball for periods of time as well.
Yeah.
So Cardinals were interesting. What they won 7 in a row today before the Cubs got to Flaherty and won that game 4-3. That's a big win for the Cubs, just to keep them around. You got to keep around in these wild card races. I think I'm fairly confident Milwaukee's going to win, but I still think the AL Central is I think there's 3 teams live there.
Gotcha. Let's go to the National League West and what we're starting to see out there. I think we're going to have a real race, Mike. I really do, and I think it's 4 teams because I know the Padres. You've been down on them all year. It's hard not to be. I get it. Musgrove's pitching well. Soto's hitting the ball and has been for a while. Snell has been terrific. Darvish the other day was really, really good. I know you got to put them together and stack them up. I get that. But is it a 4-team race, or am I too optimistic on the Padres?
I'm out on the Padres, but it could happen. But the bullpen is awful. I bet their bullpen's blown 15 games for them this year. And they missed Suarez. I think if they had Suarez, he's worth 8+ games to them. And then we're talking about they're right there with the Giants and D-backs chasing the Dodgers, right? And they're 8 over instead of 8 under. It's interesting because everybody's look at the Dodgers. They went 2 out of 3, and then they went 2 out of 3 in Baltimore, and now they go for an interesting series in Texas. And I just have one question for those people, and Matt Humans took them with his pick. And tell me their starting rotation in the playoffs.
You can't. It's Kershaw, and then what?
What? Urias is awful.
Yeah.
You got a bunch of young kids that throw 4 innings. Gonsolin only gives you 5, maybe 6.
Nope. Yep.
What have you got there? I mean, maybe they go get a starter.
Well, who did I see has been Giolito's been rumored to
I know. I think he might be the guy that goes there because I don't think Cleveland. I don't think they're going to give up Bieber when they're still so close. And I think this guy's got years on him. I mean, Bieber's not that old. Remember, he's 3 years removed from a unanimous Cy Young.
Yep. No, he's a hell of a player. No doubt about that. I'm in on him. But the question is fair. I mean, what's the starting rotation going to be like when you get
Houston? The GM for Houston came out and said at the All-Star break, we need to go out and get an arm.
Yeah.
I mean, Houston. So they got a bunch of guys that are there. That JP France was good again, but Urquidy being out, they've had injuries, and who do you stack up behind? Framber and Javier, right? Who's that 3 guy? And they're still searching for that solid 3. Maybe it could be the rookie France. I don't know.
Yeah. Lance Lynn, there's been some Texas talk with Lance Lynn. He needs to change his scenery. He's not a 1, 2, or 3, but he could be like a 4.
He might have done the most in the last, 10 years in baseball with 1 pitch. He has 1 pitch. He has about 4 but he's a 1 pitch. Now he's pitched decently, and they've won his starts like 3 out of 4. I mean, since I bet them, and I said somehow they got to get him out of the rotation, he's been the most reliable pitcher. He's actually been more reliable than Cease.
Yeah.
So
I think everybody wants Cease, but I don't think he.
Oh no, they're not going to give up Cease. You can't. Yeah. He's what you build your rotation around.
Yeah. We had this conversation last week. There's 33 home games left for the Angels. Artie Moreno's got to listen, don't you think? To offers for Ohtani.
He won't do it, Ken. He's not going to
You
sit
don't think he
across
will?
the table and tell this kid, sorry, you can't win the MVP that they're going to give you in 2 months.
Well, that brings up an interesting question. So if he's traded to the National League, what happens?
The vote has to be based on only the games he played in the American League, and he misses the last however many,
2
right?
months.
50 some games.
Yeah.
Right? So, I mean, I don't
Yes.
think he can win it. They said some people told me, well, if he gets traded August 1st, he's still the AL MVP.
Yeah, I
That's
don't
not
think
going to
so.
happen. That's
Yeah.
not happening. Okay.
Right.
You know, so, and he's not going to get traded to an American League team. I can't believe. I think I really think, and I don't think he wants to go to New York. I think it's LA or it's the Dodgers or the Padres to me.
Mm-hmm. Padres, would they make that move?
They were talking about it last
right?
year. I mean, they were talking about how much their marketing teams were doing research on how much revenue he creates from merchandising and ticket sales.
Yeah.
And sponsorships like us.
Right. Yeah, your ticket would go up, right?
Yeah.
If Ohtani's there for next
went up
year.
because they made the NLCS, and then it would go up again because of Ohtani.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that's good stuff. Has Derek been flying over as much this year with the disappointing season? Have you guys been over there?
He's been there 4 times, 3 times.
Oh, has he? Okay.
Times. They brought a group during All-Star break of their black card holders, whatever their elite suite holders, came up to Circa. 15 of them came up to Circa and spent the All-Star break with us, and a lot of people that had never been here before. So that was really good.
Away from sports, but staying with Circa, Barbie. I saw some pictures of Circa, the building, the hotel itself at night. Boy, it pops.
I can't believe how many groups of mostly women, but have come down here. They've never been here before, all dressed up in pink outfits to spend the night out here, have dinner, go to Legacy. They've never been. They live in Summerlin. They've never been here, but they want to get into that theme. And it's about the color, Ken. It's about that color.
Is that what it is?
It really is. I think that's what it's about. It's just a theme, a reason for a party, but people will come out for it. And white and pink right now in the midst of 112 degrees makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, is the heat wave? I mean, it's still lingering, right?
109,
how hot did it get? Did you hit 116?
114 or 15 the other day.
Yeah,
it's brutal, and 5 o'clock in the afternoon is really brutal. But I mean, it's pretty hot at 1 o'clock in the afternoon too. I mean, you get that stretch from like 1 to 7, and the sun doesn't go down till 8. So,
brutal. Mike, you have a good week. Thanks for doing this. Appreciate it. Let's finish on this. Who don't you need to win the U.S. Open? Who would be a bad result for Circa?
Let me pull it up. Get the updated number for you here. I guess Fleetwood's the worst of what's close.
Spieth?
Spieth's about the same as Fleetwood. Straka's a little worse, but I'm looking at, and McIlroy's about half as bad.
Mm-hmm.
So we say keep that lead. First time, hold on, please, hold on.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you a question, Kenny.
All right.
I think it's the 41st or 42nd anniversary this week, Wednesday was, of the death of Roger Doucet.
Yeah.
You remember Roger as a Canadian though, as an English speaking only, and not Montreal or Quebec.
Right. Yeah.
Was Roger Doucet important for the whole country?
No, because back in those days, I mean, I grew up in a English. I mean, Winnipeg there was a French speaking. St. Boniface is a French community there, but it was kind of divided, Mike. And I'll tell you what, the first time I got to Montreal, I was blown away. I love Montreal, old Montreal and Quebec City. But no, has it been that long since Doucet passed away?
I think 81 or 82. He was a huge star there in the 70s. I remember because of the dual language national anthem, singing French and English.
Yes.
And I still see people say, that was our favorite version ever of the national anthem. I'll tell you an interesting story to your point.
Of the American national anthem?
No, of Canada.
Okay,
Canada.
Yeah.
He alternated verses in French and English.
And he wore a tuxedo.
Right, and I remember him in commercials, I think when they opened the Molson Center, they played the anthem at the first one at the Molson Center was a video of him singing it from the Forum. But anyhow, in the years I ran the Fitzgerald's Poker Room, which was 6 years, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
There was only one physical fight we ever had in the room.
Really?
And it was during a tournament, and it was between a French speaker from Montreal and a guy from Alberta.
Yeah, I could see it.
a big fight. I couldn't believe it. It came to blows, and I didn't even at that point in my life. This is like 2009.
That late. Yeah.
Understand how hostile it was.
Well, Quebec wanted to secede from Canada.
And this guy who played in our room a lot, they came a lot, the French speaker. Well, he spoke English, but they were French speaker.
Yeah.
He was a secessionist. He was a big secessionist.
Right.
So.
Yeah, and then they had the whole FLQ thing in the 70s. You're probably too young for that.
No, I don't remember that.
Yeah, no, it was a big deal. Good stuff, Mike Palm. Thanks for doing this. Roger Doucette, I did not know it. God, it's a long time. My gosh. Now I can remember those pipes vividly. Well, the Canadians in the 70s, they were on all the time, right? I mean, they dominated. How many cups? 4 in a row?
They were winning all the 4 with Bowman. And I mean, how about Bowman? Doesn't he ever talk about Bowman as the greatest coach of team sports in North America? He might be. You could make the argument.
You can.
Everywhere he went, he won titles. Everywhere.
Yes. Yeah, Detroit. What did he win there? 2?
Yes. He had a good team in St. Louis. I mean, just everywhere he went, he took the teams to the top of the sport.
Yeah. That's a very good point. And those Canadians team in the 70s, my God, they were dominant at every single position. Good to talk hockey to end it on a warm July night. We'll see you next week on The Hook. We'll see you hopefully next week on The Hook as well. We appreciate you turning in. It's sponsored by Circa Sports Iowa. That's Mike Palm. I'm Ken Miller. We'll talk to you next week.